Hello and welcome back, guys. We are now Content Cube. This is the inaugural episode. I'm Michael Mayers. With me, as always, is Jad Juice. And the new character selected is Nathan Santos. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Nate. He's an awesome MMA mind. He's going to be doing all kinds of awesome stuff with us here on the channel. Nate, say hello to the people.
Hello, people. My name is Nathan Santos. I'm very excited to be part of this new platform, Content Cube, on YouTube, as well as, what are we doing, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere you can consume content, you'll be consuming Content Cube.
That is right. And obviously, I think that we have to rip the Band-Aid off here. We're going to be talking about UFC 249, this absolutely stacked card coming off the heels of this pandemic. We are, about a month without, maybe over that 6 weeks or something, without
feels
any
like
fights.
6 years, bro.
It does feel like 6 years. And we've got a stacked card that's making up for lost time. Dana White, the vigilant man who's running the show here, wanted to be the first sport to come back, and he is doing so on May 9th with the UFC 249 in Jacksonville, Florida. Now, this card is absolutely stacked, as we've said, so let's just jump right into it. The first fight we want to note that's worth mentioning here is Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Rosa. Obviously, Bryce Mitchell coming off the heels of that twister submission last year, winning submission of the year, and rightfully so. It's the second one in UFC history. I'm really excited to see what he's got to bring to the table here against a very game Charles Rosa. Any big little notes here, guys, on this quick little early prelim? Somehow it's on the early prelims.
Great question, man. Jad, you want to go ahead?
Oh, go ahead, man.
All right. Basically, it's always I mean, listen, when you see a young kid like Bryce Mitchell come up and pull off a submission like that, where do you even go with that, right? Of course, this fight's going to be on the early prelims. He's 12-1-0. Charles Rosa is 11-3-0, right? Listen, man, for a fight too exciting, I guess we'll say prospects, because both are on the come up in the featherweight division.
Right.
It's hard to bet against Bryce Mitchell in anything now, especially if you're not going to put him against a big caliber name. And I don't necessarily think he's ready for one of those, like super upper echelon guys. However, can you really ever rule out a guy who can pull off a submission like that, in what was that? How many UFC fights had he been in before that?
Let's check it out.
Not many. We don't have to know a lot to know he's not a veteran in the UFC. And if he can pull off a twister submission, who pulls off a twister? Eddie Bravo pulls off twister submissions. And this guy just said, yeah, I saw it on YouTube. I want to try it out. Come on.
I mean, his nickname is rightfully so Thug Nasty. It's real nasty what he's able to do. And that was his third fight against Matt Sales where he pulled off that twister submission. Jad, what do you think it looks like here with the odds opening at with Bryce Mitchell as a favorite at minus 195 here?
You know what? I think that's not a big surprise just because of his submission game. Now he's not as good, in my opinion, in like his wrestling. But that might lead up to the fight ending on the ground, and Bryce Mitchell might be on his back because I feel like he's gonna get taken down. But I feel like as well that's where he wants to be, so he might pull off a submission from his back. Is my prediction.
Yeah, I agree. I have to think that Bryce Mitchell is going to take this one. He's going to find a way to be creative. He's had a lot of time to kind of hone his craft, work on that wrestling you were talking about. Charles Rosa's got to try to keep this standing. But if Bryce Mitchell, if this hits the mat, it might be just a matter of time. I think that's the level of jiu-jitsu that he's bringing to the table here. What's your prediction here, Nate?
Hey, listen, we got Thug Nasty in the building with 73% of his victories coming by way of submission. Listen, when you got a submission expert like that, there's no other way to go. I'm saying Thug Nasty by submission.
100%. I got that there. And if you guys want to go and throw that bet, I would use that bet as you could use it as a standalone. That's a great standalone, or as a part of a parlay, which is probably where I'm leaning toward in the end. The next fight up on this card is Vicente Luque versus Niko Price, my dark horse, for fight of the night. This is an all-violence card, headlined obviously by Ferguson and Gaethje, which we'll get to in a few moments. But this fight particularly piques my interest in terms of the level of violence that we're going to see here and the sheer raw aggression. Now, Vicente Luque is coming off of a loss against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in his last fight, but that's also coming off the heels of 6 wins that he rattled off, including 1 fight over Niko Price back in UFC Fight Night 119, where he submitted him with a Bravo choke. So, I mean, this is a very interesting rematch here. And the most recent win for Vicente Luque is against a very game Mike Perry. Now, obviously, with Niko Price, you've got a very violent man here. With that loss against Vicente Luque, he came off and rattled off 2 wins. He lost against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who was a very game fighter, as well as Jeff Neal. But he is coming off of a up kick KO highlight victory over James Vick. Enough out of me, boys. What do you guys have to take away from a rematch between 2 very violent fighters and Luque coming out as the favorite in the betting odds?
Jad, you take this one, bro. Going second this time.
I totally agree with you, Mike. I think this is one of the best fights we're going to see that night. I'm super duper excited about it because, like you said, those guys are just go all out. They don't, leave anything in the tank at the end of the fight. So, and the other thing is they're both very experienced, right? So we're looking at people that have been around, have never quite, made it to the top yet, but this is kind of their chance to shine right now because this is a potential fight of the night, no doubt. And I think that my prediction would be that Vicente Luque is going to take it just out of more tenacity. I feel like he's got the better striking still than Niko Price. Niko Price, we saw, is just a kind of an unorthodox fighter. He thinks outside of the box with that up kick. I've always felt like we should see more up kicks in MMA. I'm surprised we don't. And I was like super shocked, and it was amazing to see that he knocked his previous opponent with that. So I feel like regardless of that, Vicente Luque is going to take this one.
Jad, I agree when you say Vicente Luque has better striking, but I do not agree with the prediction. I am going to go Niko Price in this because, as you said, Mike, who lost in their first fight together? Niko Price, right?
Yes, Niko, yes.
Now, and the way that he's finished his last few fights off his back. Remember when he put the guy, I don't even remember who he's fighting, but he had Buddy's face against his foot and started smashing him from the bottom, knocked him out. Then the up kick. I'm not seeing Niko Price right now. For one, I should say, I'm not entirely sold on Vicente Luque as a top caliber guy.
Okay.
I think stylistically, the Wonderboy fight was a bad matchup for him because technically speaking, to go strike for strike with someone like Wonderboy is hard when you're a good striker, but also a brawler. And I think in a violent fight like this, when one guy has already lost, I think Niko Price could be hungry to get that one back. And being as unpredictable as he is, balls to the wall, I'm not losing. I'm saying Niko Price, no matter what position he's in, he's going to pull off something super weird and get the job done. I think he finishes Vicente Luque.
Very interesting. Yeah, this fight is not going the distance. I'll tell you that much when it comes to the betting lines.
Be 15 minutes of war.
Absolute. We're going to be seeing something similar to what happened with Jędrzejczyk versus Weili Zhang. That was absolutely barn burner for 25 minutes. This one's obviously slated for 15. My opinion. Honestly, this is tough. The fact that it's the gap in terms of the betting line is Vicente Luque with as an overwhelming favorite in terms of what I think might be a 50-50 in terms of just like their abilities against one another. He's a minus 248 favorite. I would take Niko Price in a standalone bet. I would take that just because there is some money to be made there and what I think is a closer fight than what's being put on paper. But if I had to say who do I think is going to, so that's a standalone bet. As part of a parlay, I would use Vicente Luque. So if you're stacking up bets, I would go with Vicente. But in terms of making some money, Niko Price is a great place to start. Now, betting aside, who do I think is going to win? Man, this is tough, man. This is real tough. I think I'm going to go with Vicente Luque. I think he has the tools in order to put Niko Price away again. This time it might be a knockout as opposed to a submission, though. So, and if it is a submission, it's going to be because someone got clipped. But I'm going to go with Vicente Luque in this, but I would not, again, be surprised to have Niko Price win, and I would 100% make a bet on Niko Price as a standalone, as a plus 211. That doesn't make any sense to me, at least personally.
Well, not to mention, if we're talking about, betting odds, who doesn't like Niko Price as a dog, right?
Right.
That's a good pick, right? Like, if you can get Niko Price as a dog with how crazy he is, right? Like, James Vick Vic was, he got knocked out. You know how high you have to up kick Vic? He's every bit of, he looks like Stefan Struve. I know, but at the weight division he's at, he looks like Stefan Struve, right?
Yes.
He just towers above everybody. When you see a guy who's that predictable, even off his back can knock you out. That's a whole other thing than submitting someone off your back, right? When you have somebody that unpredictable, I think even if he gets clipped and goes down, let's say Luque jumps in for a swarm and then, who knows what's going to happen from there. As a dog, I like Niko Price.
Sure.
Yes, especially as a dog, straight up. But that's a 50-50 fight if I've ever seen one.